I'm going to choose that straight bladed knife. I'm going to start down here. I could carve all of this stuff down. But remember, all my grains are running straight. So when I am carving this, I'm carving down. I'll switch to a better camera here so we can see. I'm carving down to where that cut is. You can see those pieces are easily coming off. I'm using a technique where I anchor my thumb and pull my blade towards me. You can see I'm kind of carving into a corner. Watch this. I can break this whole piece off. Well, not break it off, but split it off just by pulling through it. There I got to take off a huge amount of wood by using that grain to my advantage. There's some drawbacks to this. If I was going in this direction, I could have split the entire side of my paddle off. Keep going here, carving this down. And I'm kind of having problems getting in here with the straight blade, so I'm going to switch to this rounded blade, see if that helps. And it does. I'm looking to take this down to a point. That is my center line. We'll go ahead and do that same thing on this side. Carving down to my cut. And check to make sure that I'm not carving my line off. I'm going to cut away from myself and pop that piece out. Usually good practice to carve away from yourself. Sometimes, however, there are instances where we have to carve towards ourselves. Generally, when I'm working with beginning carvers, regardless of the age, I suggest that they use a Kevlar filleting glove. Not horribly expensive, so much more cheaper than a trip to the emergency room. I have the bottom of my blade pretty much finished. Pull it up a little bit on the line. Now, I'm going to go about carving this direction. If I keep going in this direction, I'm going to end up splitting off my blade. So I got to reverse my direction, come back this way. And I can carve in this direction till I get to about here. And from here, I've got to carve back in the other direction. So I don't want to break off my handle. So I can carve in this direction. So I get to that second relief cut, it looks like. To the line. And that technique where I anchor my thumb, I'm anchoring against my hand Making sure no body parts are in between it and my blade. And pulling the blade like that. Now here I can make up some ground. I can split this off quite a ways, almost all the way to the handle. It's going to come off in pieces. Don't get too carried away because you could break off a piece that you don't want to. And just for fun, I might show you that after we get a little further. Getting really close. Oh man, we're to that point where I have to start carving back in the other direction already. I'm going to darken that line so you can see what I'm removing. This will be my handle. I can take some of that. About, if I look, I can probably take it off about to here before I start carving back. And pulling and walking that blade in slowly. Don't want to get too forceful or we could break it. Knives are made for carving, not for prying. Always good to remember that. You can break your knife blade if you start prying on things. Here it looks like I might not have cut down far enough on my relief cut, so I'm going to go ahead and take that back to my little bench there and recut that just a little bit deeper. The whole idea when we're doing this too is to work smarter, not harder. So I've gone ahead and I've made that cut a little bit deeper. Now I'm going to come back in the other direction. And I think I'm going to switch to my flat plate for this. Oh, see that? The reason I switch that is this has got a finer point on it, and I can get in there a little bit. And carve it down to where that cut disappears. And I'm to my line. Got this section left to remove. I'm going to go ahead and split most of that off. And you can see that I'm not taking it all. I try not to anyway. Slightly forcing down, don't get your fingers in the way. And choose too wisely. Move over about 1/8 of an inch. There we go. Knock good portion of that off. And we can see on the back side here, my paddle is starting to take shape. Exciting. Go back to my round blade. My rounded blade. And just ever so slightly. And then the next job is to bring that all down together here. There we can see half of our paddle is pretty much emerged there. It is there kind of roughed out. If you've made it this far without breaking something off, I would like you to take a break and take your right hand and reach over your left shoulder and pat yourself in the back. Because even to make it this far without breaking something off is quite the feat. Even myself, I've had days where I've made it almost this far and broken my handle off and then have to start over. If you can imagine, we could do this on a much larger scale too, doing the same technique with a large paddle. I'm going to go ahead and start removing this side. And using what we know about grain, remember all of our grain is literally running like this through the piece of wood. We're going to be able to work in this direction until we get to where this line starts sloping back up. And that would be at least to here. So here we're going to be carving in that direction. These two, we're going to be carving in that direction. We're going to use the grain of the wood to help us and those relief cuts too. The whole time I'm doing this, and most of my other art, I am doing my best to have a positive attitude. Oh my gosh, if I'm sitting here thinking during this whole project, I'm going to break something, it's going to break off, guess what's probably going to happen? So it's important that you have a positive attitude. And more than likely, you'll have a positive outcome. Even some days with the most positive of attitudes, I still have pieces break off. But I tend to have a much better outcome if I do have a positive attitude. In fact, culturally, we do not even do these things unless we're in a good mood, having a good time. Oh, and there I go and say that. And here we are. But it's a good thing because I have some other examples here. And you can see where it's split. Oh, God. Oh, my gosh. So I just happen to have another one right here. And if you'll note, it's about as far along as I was with that one. Only there is not a relief cut here to finish the handle. So I'm going to switch right to that. And carry on.